Hello dear Sapphires, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all well and looking forward to the blood moon coming up, also known as the harvest moon apparently. So there's been a lot of chatter on social media lately regarding Harry wanting to return to the fold and a meeting with his father coming up as well. So what will happen? How does Harry tackle this? Will there be talks of reconciliation, of contrition, or compromise? It really is like watching a royal soap opera, isn't it? Well, going with this theme, today I'm going to read chapter 17 from Diana's book called Reconciliation? The synchronicities seem to have quietened. It feels like a time of watching and waiting. There are circulating reports now that Netflix deal has concluded for Harry and that he is seeking a way to reconnect with his family. What a huge undertaking that would be. I hope he understands that he can't just waltz back in without making some drastic changes. Maybe this is why Diana has returned at this point in time. It feels as if she's watching for the opportunity, waiting to blow away the fog of confusion and distortion that surrounds her son. Perhaps she's trying to bridge him back to his father and eventually the rest of the family. But from the outside, it looks less like a heroic return and more like a desperation. Having exhausted so many other paths, he maybe simply is just running out of options. And if that's the case, then the road home won't be easy, especially when it comes to his brother. How on earth does he ever atone to William? An impossibility, in my opinion. Why now? A question of timing. I've always been fascinated by timing, why some things happen precisely when they do, not a moment sooner or later. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. There is something too sacred, too intricately woven about the way life unfolds. So when I began to sense the presence of Diana's spirit, unmistakably and powerfully, I couldn't help but ask, why now? Why not years ago, when the world was still mourning? Why not when her sons were marrying, or becoming fathers, or ascending to their public roles? Why would she return now, in this precise moment? And then I saw in the headlines, the media deals are falling away, the image is cracking, and Harry is searching, perhaps for a way back, perhaps for peace, perhaps for something he can't even name. Harry's crossroads. What if Diana's return in spirit isn't random, but responsive? What if this is her moment to act, to gently guide, nudge, protect? I've long felt that her presence toward Harry wasn't just about comfort, it was more than that. She wanted to help free him, not only from the external world, but from the tangle inside his own heart. The grief, the anger, the illusions. Maybe that's why I was shown a vision of Harry coming to New Zealand, far from the scrutiny, the palace, the press, and yes, even far from his current life and wife. Not out of spite, not to divide, but because a mother knows when her child needs to begin again. Aotearoa, this land, holds space for that kind of spiritual reset, a softening, a sacred disconnection from chaos, so that reconciliation can happen in truth. Here Diana could reach Harry not with words, but soul to soul, across the veil of time, and whisper, I am here, you are not alone, you can still choose. William too, and then there is William. It's easy to forget as the headlines swirl that he lost his mother too, that he was the eldest, the one who had to steady himself and his brother through unimaginable pain when their mother died. I don't know what he believes about signs or spiritual presence or unseen guidance, but I do know that grief doesn't expire and a mother's love doesn't fade with death. Diana loved both her boys, and she still does. This moment, this spiritual arrival, is not about Harry instead of William. It's about both of them, about healing the rift, about restoring something long broken. Maybe this is Diana's mission now, not just to comfort, but to reconcile, not just to appear, but to intervene, through synchronicities, through whispers, through us. Imagine if headlines ever began to say things like, Diana returns to snap Harry out of it. It could shift the public mood. Suddenly, he might be cast as a misguided son, rescued by a watchful mother beyond the veil, a narrative rich in sympathy and redemption. But perception, however powerful, is only a mirror. It can soften opinion for a time, but it can't erase the truth underneath. Real reconciliation is never won through image or sentiment alone. It requires honesty, deep self-reflection, and a willingness to face the damage caused, not only to a nation, but to a family. That work can't be done by Diana, nor by those of us trying to hold space. It can only be done by Harry. So headlines like, Diana returns to snap Harry out of it might catch the public's attention right now in the heat of this confusion, but they can't replace integrity. They can't heal the breach between brothers. They don't rebuild trust. A different headline lingers just behind it. Diana returns to pick up the pieces. That one feels deeper, more accurate, as if she's here not only to rouse him from illusion, but to carefully gather what's left of her boys and begin, somehow, to guide them back to one another. The energy has shifted, but whether that shift brings true reconciliation or just more headlines depends entirely on the path Harry chooses next. What would a redemption action plan actually look like for Harry? It's a difficult thing to imagine and even harder to say out loud. He would need something constructive to do with his time, not a title, not a brand, not a show. Something that makes him useful again, something real. He could consider a symbolic gesture that honours both of his parents, perhaps combining Windsor with Spencer, as Diana had suggested in early May. A name isn't everything, but it would be a nod to the royal line and the woman who's never stopped loving him, even from the other side. Then come the apologies, public yes, but more importantly private. One to his father, one to William and Catherine, if possible. And even one to himself for losing the plot and for letting the wrong voices guide him away from who he was born to be. He must learn that perception is not always reality. Maybe that's what Diana's presence is about, not just to guide, but to whisper one final instruction from the other side. Come home, but come back different. End of chapter 17. So it really is a waiting game right now, waiting to see if Harry is brave enough to drop his pride, humble enough to put his father's situation before his own, and strong enough to learn that it's not sorry that's the hardest word. It's goodbye. And on that note, I'll mosey along. Remember to hit the like button to help the channel, and new Sapphires, please subscribe as we continue on our mission as the Fellowship of the Crown. Bye for now, and have a fab rest of your day.